Is this even a fitness channel anymore? I don't know. I don't know. I just really talk about whatever I want on this channel because I can. Do I have a hair clip? Oh yeah, let's put my hair back. I'm folding clothes right now. It is Monday. This is usually a Mindset Monday video, and I actually think it's going to end up marrying itself nicely to this topic. Title of this video is mediocre expectations equals mediocre results. So this is actually in response to some things that are happening on the Black internet. Okay, let me just give you guys a background. Eboni Williams, who I've never heard of, quite frankly, was talking to Iyanla Vanzant, who's like, you know, she was on Oprah a lot. She also has written several books. She's really like a self-help kind of guru, if you will. She's had her own TV show. She really focuses on Black trauma and helping people to, you know, affirm themselves and dig themselves out of their own trauma and begin to support themselves and support others and to have healthy boundaries, healthy relationships, things like that. But I wouldn't consider her a dating coach. So anyway, she was on an interview with Eboni Williams, and I'm going to play the part that I'm going to respond to. And Ebony's like this millionaire lawyer, and they were talking about how, of course, like, you know, Black women are one of the least married groups in the United States. We are also the most educated and the fastest growing entrepreneur group. Take that with what you will. And so Eboni was like, Eboni was talking about how, you know, why Black women and Black men are not getting married and so forth. And Iyanla proceeded to ask her if she would date a bus driver. And Eboni is a millionaire. She is a lawyer. She has a Juris Doctorate degree. And I'm saying that because that's how I feel. Would she date a bus driver? And I will tell you guys that my father, who was a window washer, would not want me to date a bus driver. And it's not because he hates working class. My dad was a janitor. He was a window washer. He was a car mechanic. He wouldn't. And here's why. Because my dad's smart, number one. He understands anthropological, scientific, and biological needs of women and men. And he knows that it would require me, in order for that to work. Now, of course, there are plenty of exceptions to the rules. And I know people love being the exception to the rule, but the exceptions don't make the rule. He would say, I would caution you against that because the power dynamics when a woman is the breadwinner are different. That's just a fact. And I think that we like to pretend like that's not the case, but my family lives in reality. My parents have 8 children, 6 girls, 2 boys. Almost all of us have degrees, advanced degrees. My brother's an engineer. The other brother is in his PhD. So in a lot of ways, we don't fit the mold of Black families, which is why I'm going to talk about mediocre expectations equal mediocre results. So we don't fit the mold of a Black family, a typical Black family in the United States. People like to pretend like we're the norm, and we're actually not. So anyway, Eboni says this, and she goes, I would date the bus driver if he owned the bus. And people are up in arms because they felt like she was attacking bus drivers, and not bus drivers, but people who are in blue collar careers. And I would like to point out, number one, that there's a huge difference between like being a street bus driver versus being a luxury liner bus driver versus being a UPS driver versus being a FedEx. Like, there's a massive difference, first of all. So let's like not pretend like those are the same thing. So the disingenuity of this conversation is hilarious. But anyway, I don't even care about that because I don't really care what people's preferences are. Like, I'm not into that. But one thing that happened is Eboni got a ton of backlash. So she responded sort of like further explaining her thought process on the Black community and how our expectations are lower than other communities when it comes to not only just dating, but also like education and careers and lifestyle and things like that. And that's where I can get on board with Eboni because I see it. I was a teacher for 12 years. Quit 2 years ago because y'all want mediocre children. And I said, I can't do it. Not in Jesus' name. I can't do it. Hey, Kristen. So anyway, Ebony gets on this show and she starts to explain how one of the issues that she has with our community is that we have low expectations for ourselves. And so let me play a little bit of that. And then I want to talk about my thoughts as a teacher and then my thoughts as a health and fitness coach, because your expectations absolutely dictate your reality. They do. They really, really do. And so I'm going to play that on my phone for you guys. So let's see if we can hear it.
Yes, personal question. And y'all know I have been extremely transparent about the fact that my life choices and my chosen lifestyle are far outside of the norm. So when I said that I would date the bus owner, a lot of y'all heard something different. Some of you heard the following: bus drivers are whack. Bus drivers are broke. Oh, and I'm too good for a bus driver. The only thing is, y'all made that part up. See, I said what I said. But then some of y'all started talking about salaries and hourly wages, pensions and benefits. And that's wild because I was never talking about money at all. I was talking about Black ownership, but some of y'all made it about money. I'm talking about ownership, Black enterprise, and entrepreneurship, because really I am talking about Black liberation. And if you read my book, you'll understand why. So I'm standing 10 toes down on that position, and I don't really care if you're hurt or offended by it. And since some of y'all are already big mad, let me go ahead and make you incensed. So out of the 50,000 plus comments posted on social, I only saw a handful that even considered the possibility of a bus owner being a more aspirational position and recognizing that I am actually speaking and pouring into the ascension of Black men when I said what I said.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right here. So we had this phrase when I was teaching. We would kind of joke about it, but it really put us into perspective of like what we were doing in the classroom. Because when you're to become a teacher, you have this idea that you're going to save everybody. You are like, I am going to be, everybody's going to go to college. Everybody's going to get advanced degrees. Everybody's going to, that's our pie in the sky mindset. And as you mature as a teacher, you realize, okay, and this is what we used to say. Some of you guys, and we wouldn't say this to the kids, but in our minds, some of these kids are going to be Jamba Juice managers. And my job as a teacher is to make them the best darn Jamba Juice manager they're going to be. Some of these people, they are going to be relegated to being plumbers. And plumbers make good money. So my job is to show them how to show up on time, how to be respectful, how to engage in small talk, how to look people in the eye, how to give clear directions, how to provide feedback, to be the best plumber they can be. That is kind of what Ebony is saying, is everybody, we have this this idea that it's okay to just stay where you are. Now, if that's your potential, then baby, potential the heck out of that bus driving position, please. Potential the heck out of it. But if you're not, I just firmly don't believe that like Black people in general are the amount of us who are in blue collar jobs. Again, my dad was a janitor, window washer, and my dad was a mechanic. So I understand. And he still preached ascension, as Ebony called it. He's preached ascension to us, all 8 of his children, 6 girls, 2 boys, ascension. Do I think my dad reached his potential as a mechanic? Absolutely not. My dad is wicked smart. And he even said, well, if I would have made some different choices, I would have gone and got a PhD. This man has a high school diploma, but he understood the power of reaching your full potential. And when Ebony said ownership, everybody was like, oh, she hates bus. But I was thinking, yeah, because I like people who own things. I like people who are like ambitious. I want us to be ambitious as a community. I want my children to be ambitious. Okay, you're a Jamba Juice manager. That's what you're going to do. Okay, please be the person who trains the other Jamba Juice managers how to get things done. I want people to come to your store and go, okay, if that's your highest position. And so what Ebony, and I'm going to replay some of the rest of it, is saying is that sometimes in our community we are okay with people just being, but like with the amount of people that went into full on defense and attack mode at her without kind of parsing the truth out of that was really interesting and telling. That I think we are okay to a degree with a little bit of mediocrity. We are okay. And there's this kind of this old, another movement that's like, it's okay to be mediocre. Like, if that's your aesthetic, then fine, go have at it. I don't know what that's like because I grew up with 7 siblings. My dad was the only one who worked. We were on welfare for until I was like 12 years old. I don't know what it's like to not want more for yourself. So I don't understand that. I didn't live my life like that. Neither of my parents have college degrees, but you better believe when we came home, what are your grades? What are you doing? They were at every single parent teacher conference. And if we're honest, that's just not the norm. That's just not the norm in the community. And so that is something that I could really resonate with her on when she was saying, like, you know, I want ownership matters. Like, let's aspire to own things. Let's aspire to, you know, be better. That's okay if you want to be better. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be better. And if you've reached your potential as a Jamba Juice manager, then baby, Jamba Juice manager away. But for a lot of us, that's actually not our potential. And we're unfortunately okay with that. So let me finish her little.
No, so busy naming and shaming me personally and Black women in general as undesirable, gold diggers, and much worse. Now, I suspect that some of y'all are the same men that were bringing home C's and D's on your report cards, only to then be coddled by parents that said, well, that's okay, as long as you're doing your best. Well, listen, I love and believe in the excellence of Black men. So no, my dear, C's and D's or any other form of mediocrity is not okay. No, I will not create a soft place for you or anybody that I love to fall comfortably into the bigotry of low expectations. So I'm going to say one more time, there's absolutely nothing wrong with driving a bus. My mother Gloria drove one for years. But could it be that Black America has been sold a narrative of average, regular, and typical being good enough for us? Well, see, that's called white supremacy. And in this case, it takes the form of conditioning Black Americans to happily accept being a permanent American underclass. But see, because I know the truth about Black folk in America, no, average is not and will never be good enough for me. And the gag is, I don't think it's good enough for you either.
So a couple of things. She said, some of you guys are bringing home C's and D's, blah, 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 and your parents say it's okay. Let me tell you something. So do the teachers. So did the teachers. So when I was a teacher, you guys, I will actually admit that I am at fault as well. They would praise the heck out of kids for writing their name on a paper. You know, and that's that whole, what is it called? PBIS, positive behavior, some intervention strategies, right? So let's praise them for every little thing and it'll encourage them to do more. So we would be praising kids for putting names on their papers. Honey, not even writing the essay, this is Americans as a whole, but particularly Black kids. This was rampant in schools. And I've worked, you guys, so I've worked in 4th grade, subbed all over the Bay Area, middle school and high school, and I've coached a ton of athletes from different places. And this was rampant. It was the idea that I'm just going to praise you for doing the basic things and then be like shocked when you don't want to try for an A+ or you don't want to work hard, because we don't praise hard work. We don't praise, you know, resilient. We would praise, okay, oh, you brought your pencil today. What? It's school. You should have a pencil. What? Oh, you finish this homework. It's school. You should finish your homework. That is a basic requirement. And the idea of C's getting degrees, high school is not a degree. Middle school is not a degree. middle school is essential. High school is essential for your development. Advanced degrees are something different, but I'm saying we, as part of the education system, we would let kids get away with murder, and particularly Black boys. This was something I saw a lot. So it's interesting. This is gonna make some people upset. Black girls are adultified in public schools, private schools, anywhere. Black girls are adultified, meaning we are perceived to be and expected to be smarter, more emotionally developed, and more wise in a lot of ways than our peers in the sense of decision making. So there's this expectation that Black women will do better, for better or worse, based on race, sometimes too, racially also, like as a racist mentality also. But Black boys are not treated that way in schools. In schools, listen, she said, I work in higher ed and the freshmen are not prepared for college. I know, because I was writing people's essays when I was a freshman in college, and I was like, ooh, how did you get in? Men. So with Black boys particularly, there was this like, the world is so hard for you. The world is so challenging for you because you have dark skin and because you're a Black male. So let me, as Eboni Williams would say, give you a soft place to land. So there were all these concessions that would be made for Black boys, but Black girls were seen as a threat. They would be seen as a threat. And so instead of being like, oh, but she has this going on at home. Oh, she has that going on at home. It'd be like, send her to the office. She gets an F. She's this, she's that, So, and I think that's why Black girls have just had to kind of learn to overcome a little bit more than Black boys. Because Eboni talks about the gap between Black men and Black women in education. I can tell you that there are mediocre expectations for Black boys. 500%, be mad at me if you want to. I worked in public schools. I had a master's degree in education. So in our master's degree programming, we would talk about these racial barriers and racial issues. And one of the things that they would always talk about is the plight of the Black boy. They weren't talking about Black girls. They did not care one bit about us. So even in education, there's an expectation that you will do better as a Black woman. And I am guilty of imposing this on my Black girls as well. Now, I would do it educationally. I would say, you are not at your potential, and I would leave the Black boys alone. And so it's important that we understand that she's not wrong about expectations. She's not wrong. There are absolutely, on a whole, in education, Black women are expected to perform better. Black girls are expected to perform more than Black boys. They are. Black boys are given a few more concessions. They're given a few more lower expectations, which I think is a problem. I think it's horrible. As a teacher, and I'm telling you, 12 years in education with a master's degree in education, sitting through these panels, I would go in and talk to, one of my jobs was to actually speak to students who are teachers. I've been a master teacher, meaning people have followed me around in my classroom and watched me teach. The expectations are lower for Black boys in schools, 500%. 500%. And so it's important that even if, when we think about education, because Eboni's whole point was like, I want someone who has been through sort of the same trajectory as I have, because we know that there's certain things that happen in college, there's certain things that happen in, education that shape you. So she's saying, hey, let's have everybody be on this trajectory. Let's everyone do this. And so, okay, Tim, I work in education. Okay, I've been around the block. I've worked all up and down. This is something that's like happened everywhere. So that can be your experience, but I'm telling you, as a teacher, as an educator who's been on panels, who's been to conferences, this is an expectation. They are actually in classrooms Black boys are not expected to perform as much as Black boys. You don't have to agree with me. I don't like to agree with the truth either. I actually tend to be offended by the truth. But I had to come to this realization as an educator that I'm like, wow, oh, the world, oh, it's so hard for you because you're a Black boy. Oh, you can't, let me write this in for you. Let me just pass you on to the next grade. Oh, life is going to be so hard for you. Let me coddle you. That's how they treat Black boys in public school. Okay. Um, so yeah. And they can do that and simultaneously suspend them. That's the scary part, is they can simultaneously coddle them and suspend them at the same time. That's the weird part. So back to what I was saying. There we what's sad about what Ebony is saying is that it's true. I think that we have to look at, okay, what are the expectations in our community for women and what are the expectations for men? And I think on the whole, as a society in education, we have lowered our expectations, to your point, Kristen. Yes. Unfortunately, I have to agree. We can't coddle our children. And so I want to talk about now I want to talk about degrees. And because there's a lot of talk about like um you can make more money without a degree than you can with a degree. And there's a lot of talk about just because someone has a degree doesn't mean they're smart. All of those things are correct. All of those things are correct. So I work with hundreds of athletes now in my new career of all walks of life. Can I tell you that the Indians are not talking about don't go get a degree? Can I tell you that the Asians are not talking about don't go get a degree? Can I tell you that Jewish people are not saying don't go get a degree? It's useless. Can I tell you that Hispanic families, Latino families are not saying don't go get a degree? It's useless. We have this conversation, this predominant conversation in our community about degrees are useless. Don't go get a degree. And I can see how that's true. I can see how that's true. Unfortunately, we're not saying go do X, Y, Z instead so you can be successful. It's called anti-intellectualism. It's called anti-intellectualism. When we start to bash one of the very things that provides you with a different set of social circumstances. So when my seniors leave for college, one of the things I tell them is, you're not in college to make friends, but you're in college to network. So get to know as many people as you can, because it's not your degree that's going to save you, it's your network. You are going to be exposed to people from all different walks of life that you probably wouldn't be exposed to if you didn't go to school, if you didn't go to university, because there's a certain mentality that sends their kids to university. It's not the mentality that, oh, degrees are stupid, because that's what they will tell Black people in the community, and especially Black women. There's this idea that your degrees are dumb. You have all these degrees, but you ain't got no man. Right. But like part of my sister's a doctor, right? The other one's a nurse. The other one's a math major. Married with children, by the way. What those degrees did for them was expose them to a different level of society, a different class in society. And I think a lot of people in our community are afraid of that kind of ascension. They're afraid of it. And so we preach anti-intellectualism. We preach that's stupid. We bash women for telling the truth. We bash women for saying, hey, I think you can do better. When I made my quit teaching video, you guys, one of the things that I said was that one of the reasons why I quit is that I sat in classroom after classroom after classroom, and I watched them make excuses for why Black people couldn't be better. I watched people make excuse after excuse for why Black people couldn't do better. And I was like, oh, I was like, oh, they don't want Black people to be successful. They don't want Black children to be successful, really. They play into the race card. Are these people, some of these people racist? 100%, but not the kind you're thinking of. Their job is to make you for sure believe that the only way that you can be successful is if white people let you. That's what I said in my teaching video. I was like, I can't do this anymore. I can't sit up here and support this. That's why I left the classroom. I can't support you guys every single time I say, hey, there's a consequence for that. Like, I said that, and they would be like, you're racist, you're part of the white man. No, I just think Black people are geniuses. I think we're not living up to I would say that. No, I think we're smarter than that. But we're afraid to be better. We're afraid to be better. Respectfully, sisters are bragging about being the most educated, while their living standards are wholly inconsistent with their most educated status. You might be right about that. I don't know. I don't know what that means particularly. You can explain that. Asians, Middle Easterners earn more than white. Yep, they sure do. So I live in Silicon. A lot of my athletes are Asians and Middle Easterners. They target high return on investment degrees and have family support accountability. They are focused on success in grade school. Let me tell you, yes. So, and the irony of this, speaking of wifehood, motherhood, married, right? These women are going out and getting doctorates, getting MDs, turning around and being wives and stay-at-home wives and mothers. That's the kicker. You are 100% correct. Asians and Middle Easterners, they target return on investment degrees. Okay, I'm gonna tell you guys something. My dad was like, I'm not paying for your degree if you're gonna become a if your major is psychology. Oh, he wasn't wrong. Because that's literally, yes, that's what he said. He was like, I'm paying for that. I made 6 figures as a teacher, so don't come at me. Mostly because I was good at what I did. 6 figures. Because I was like, okay, I did this degree, you're gonna pay me. Living in Silicon Valley, so that doesn't mean anything. But what I've noticed about my athletes is that they're going to school they're majoring in computer engineering, computer science, business with a plan to go get a master's degree. They're talking about what they're majoring in poli-sci with a plan to go get a law degree. So they're very targeted. And so I think with your approach, the approach should be exactly that. Accounting. Go get an accounting degree. Not a degree in, you can do something with an African American studies degree, but I don't know what the return on investment on that degree is. And so I'm all about Black people putting themselves in spaces where they can be better and expecting more from themselves. And there's a school and I've talked about this before. This is in my video, my quit teaching video. There's a school is it New York on the East Coast, where from the elementary school up, they talk to kids about every single decision that they make and how it affects their lives. And they have 100% college acceptance and graduation rate. And none of those kids are running around talking about my degree is useless. I'm not even using my degree per se right now. But I used it for 12 years and it gave me the skills that I do to run my own business. So we have to be honest about our expectations for people. We have to be honest about our expectation for ourselves. A lot of us are okay with a high school degree. We bash college degrees as if there's something to be mad about. There's nothing wrong with getting a degree. In fact, you're going to put yourself in circles that you would have never imagined. What Would have never imagined. Few people are drowning in degrees or participating in anti-intellectualism. We are confronting a very toxic and pompous propaganda sisters are putting out to undermine their men. So my personal belief is that you can't be undermined unless you allow yourself to be undermined. That's my personal opinion. But I hear what you're saying, but I don't understand. Like the same way I don't feel shamed by anybody because no one can make me feel shamed or inferior without my consent. And here's the truth. These Asian to Middle Eastern women who are drowning in degrees are marrying Asian and Middle Eastern men who are drowning in degrees. So I don't think there's anything wrong with her wanting someone who is in her same mindset, like owning a bus and saying like, I own a company versus that entrepreneurial mindset versus, oh, I'm okay to drive a bus when that's maybe not my potential. Nothing wrong with that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think there's a perfect partner for that bus driver and they're going to live a wonderful, healthy, beautiful life. And I also think that there's more to relationships than money. There's more to relationships than making money. One of those things is the dynamics between men and women and understanding what men need and understanding what women need in order to be comfortable and have a symbiotic relationship. And I said in the beginning of this video, my dad would probably never let me date a bus driver unless he owned the bus company. And that's because my dad knows that I'm an entrepreneur. My dad was an entrepreneur. And he's like, no, because he knows men and he's honest. And he's like, you would probably not do well with that because most men want to be the breadwinner. They want to provide and they want to protect. And it's hard for them to do that if you are the breadwinner. And it's not a money thing. It's actually an internal, God-given desire of men. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. Respectfully, sister, I like the way you said that. Why do you think Iyanla asked a question about dating the bus driver? Do you think that the hypothetical in itself is laden with a very negative implication? I think she asked the question because Eboni was speaking about how, you know, there's this gap between. Eboni asked her, how do we fix it? And Iyanla's question back was, she said, how do we fix this gap between Black men and Black women, this femininity and masculinity gap? And Iyanla said, would you date a bus driver? That was her response. So that's why she asked the question, because she wanted to catch Eboni and be like, well, the reason why you don't have a man essentially is because you won't date down, which is what she was expecting. Now, some people may be perfectly fine with dating a bus driver. I don't know. Good for them. I don't even care about the bus driver question. I just think it's ridiculous that this is a question. I think we should be asking ourselves, hey, what can we do to be better? I think everybody, males and females, should be asking themselves, how can I be better? Instead of being like, that woman said this about Black men. Like, I'm so in my book right now that I'm like, how can I be a better human? How can I be a better life coach? How can I be a better leader? And you attract what you are. You attract what you are. So if you're attracting bus drivers, that's who you are. If you're attracting millionaires, that's who you are. Period. I don't know what to say to you guys, but what I'm not going to do is sit around here and pretend like what Eboni said was not true, which is we have low expectations for ourselves in the Black community. We do. And that is what it is. And if we want to do better, we have to expect more. And because I work with athletes, I work with Black male athletes, have committed myself to stop coddling them and stop saying, oh, life is so hard for you, so I'm going to just tell you that it's okay. Nah, show up to practice. Don't tell me you want to be a athlete and then show up Goodbye. Have a nice day. I don't want to work with you anymore. Do your homework. Don't come over here with no 2.5 and say that you're doing something right. You're not. Can't work with me unless you got a 3.5. Go handle that. Because when I talk to the Stanford coaches, I don't want to say, well, he has a 2.5. Nope. I'm not gonna embarrass myself. So when I talk to the Stanford coaches and the Cal coaches, I want to say, yeah, he has a 3.8, or she has a 4.2, or he has a 4.2. Awesome kid, smart kid. What can we do? Let's get him in through the back door. That's what the kind of conversations that I want to have. But we're okay with being here because we're so afraid of classism. We're so afraid of racism. We're so afraid but I want to be classist against myself. I want to be like, oh no, Joe, you can do better. Be wiser. Now I can be content and be like, okay, Joe, be better. What's the next level? Even with my own personality, I can say, okay, where can I improve? This in scriptures is called sanctification. We are called to level up ourselves spiritually on the daily. Why not level up yourself in your life if you can? That's all. Eboni is a very attractive woman. There are plenty of Black male professionals in tech business that would love an Eboni K. Williams. I hope she finds one. I really, really do. I want her to find some. I wish I knew one. I want her to. Iyanla and Eboni debated the bus driver because she wanted to erase an entire class of highly functional brothers to make bus drivers and the avatars. Okay. You need to blame Iyanla for that. Why did she choose bus driver? Is that because that's her perception of Black men? Why did she choose a bus driver? If that was me, I would have said, hey, would you date an accountant? Because accountants make way less than Eboni Williams. Way less. Why did Iyanla choose bus drivers? Because that's her perception of Black men. Boom. To my point exactly. She thinks that is literally her expectation. And the thing that drove me crazy is Iyanla said, your expectations are off for who we are and where we've been. Iyanla told y'all that she thinks y'all are trash. She said, how dare you? How dare you expect that for yourself? And how dare you expect that of Black men? I will tell you guys, my brother is getting his PhD at 30. He spent 10 years screwing around, saw his sisters and his brothers, 6 of them, master's degrees, doctors, nurses, accountants, and said, "No, I think he goes. I was about to say my last name. Ooh, I'm one of them too." He said, "I'm one of them too. Let me go in here and get my degree." He said, "I'm one of y'all too." I said, "Yeah, we have the same last name. That's right. All I do is win, no matter what. All we do is win." But was it racism? No. He was like, "Oh yeah, I'm one of y'all too. We do that. That's what we do." I was like, "Yeah, that's what we do. We go out and get degrees, and we don't have to brag about it. But if you want to talk about it, let's do it." And do you know something, Kristen? Because I know you work in higher education. My brother had to work super hard. My dad has a learning disability, but brilliant. My dad speaks Hebrew and Greek. He had to work super hard. He told me, and I actually have an interview with him on a different channel. He stayed at school, community college, for hours. He had a professor who was like, "I'm going to translate this into music so you can understand physics." And now it comes easy, and he tutors other kids, other college kids. They have him teaching classes. Don't tell me that expectations don't breed, excellent expectations don't breed excellent results. He didn't have a choice. When your siblings are out here doing X, Y, Z, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? But our community as a whole doesn't have that sentiment. We don't have that sentiment. So my one of the parents of the athletes that I coach, they are a Middle Eastern Indian family, and they will get shamed if they don't get degrees. Shamed. Tell me that doesn't matter. Tell me that doesn't, it matters. They will get shamed if they don't get degrees. Their community is not struggling the same way that we are. Now, do we have different barriers? 100%. But here's what I think. Let's say out of 100 Black people, let's say right now we're at 15 or 20 of them did get degrees. I don't think that that's our potential. I think we're closer to about 50 to 60%, but I don't think we expect it. I think we're actually close to about 50 to 60% out of our community. I think that's the amount of people who can get high level return on investment degrees and become successful. I actually believe that. So I can believe all that and still say we have low expectations. Respectfully, sister, that's not the expectation. That was a demonstration of open contempt, period. That's the attitude that making brothers run away to anything but Black. Okay. If that's the reason why you're going to run away to anything but Black, go for it. Go for it. Go for it. If expecting the, so I, let me think about if I should say this or not. I have dated millionaires. Okay. And one of the things that they love, and they will say this out loud, I like a woman who believes in me and who will cheerlead me all the way to the top. That's what they want. So you're like, that's what makes men run away from it. No, I just believe that. I just don't believe people are stupid. I still believe Black men are dumb. I don't think they're dumb. I expect more. Yes, I do. Just like I would expect more from a white man that I was dating or an Asian man yeah, let's go. What's next? Oh, I think I want to do this. My sisters are married to non-Black men. Their very existence, because of who we are and who our parents raised us to be, made their husbands get raises immediately. Immediately. Why? Because we're like, okay, whatever you want, baby. Whatever you want. What do you need? You need me to make sure that there's dinner on the table every night. You need me to make sure that that I have your clothes out for it. Let's go. Let's win. Oh, okay. What's the next goal? That's how they are. That's how we were raised that way. When my siblings share the group chat, oh, I did this. When my friends, like, you're not going to hang around me and think that you can't be anything better than you are. No, we don't do that. So the expectations are not the focal issue. It's the contempt for competent men. So I don't know. I don't understand what that's like to have contempt for competent men. I love competent men. I love competent, ambitious, healthy men. That's what I like. I love a competent man. I wouldn't date anyone who wasn't. Why would I? I love competent men. And because I do, I am, come on, baby. What do you want to do next? You want me to make you some stickers so I can pass them out? What do you need me to do? You know? That's just how we are. And I think I will say that I think there is a little bit of to your point, Tim, let's live in reality. Let's live in honesty. I do think a lot of Black women are have contempt for Black men, and let me tell you why I think they do. The conditions that made Black women have to be successful are usually rooted in the lack of fathers in the home. Let's talk about it. Can we be honest about it? So a lot of these women who are out here just busting their behinds don't have a choice. And they look around and they see these other women. And let me caveat by saying choose better. Yes, choose better. And look around, they see these other women and they're like, these men are taking care of business for them. And so they're able to have the option of not working. They're able to have the option of maybe doing part-time and staying at home with their kids. So I think you're right. I think there is a lot of contempt because a lot of these women are growing up in homes where they didn't see a man take care of, protect, or provide. And I'm saying a lot because I'm not talking about the exception. You gotta stay honest. Let's stay honest. Exceptions, not rules, right? I think I'm very blessed that I got to see that. I don't know why they are out here mowing right now. I'm blessed to see that. But a lot of these women are angry because they're told, oh, don't get degrees, and they're proud of themselves. They're like, yes, I did super well. And these men are out here like, oh, your degrees don't matter. And they're like, but if I don't get a degree and I don't make enough money, who's going to take care of me? Right? Who's going to take care of me? And we can throw arrows and daggers in all situations. But one thing I've learned is everybody has to hold themselves to a high standard in a community. Everybody. And so I think the best thing we can do is ask ourselves, do I hold myself to a high standard emotionally, spiritually, financially, physically? We do a very good job in our community of throwing daggers at each other. But nobody wants to look inside and go, okay, what do I need to change? What do I need to change? The Bible says, search my heart and see if there's a wicked way in me. He doesn't say, search that man's heart over there, Lord, search his, search. No, search my heart. Let me talk about me. What's wrong with me? No, what's wrong with me? Right? What can I do to be better? What's wrong with saying that? What's wrong with saying, leave Eboni Williams over there? What's wrong with saying, hey, I need to be better? Let's hold ourselves to a really high standard. No one is saying that sisters' degrees don't matter. That's the implication of brothers reacting to sisters overselling with it. I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you. I think there's a lot of Black women who are okay with this too. I actually do. I think they're okay with being baby mamas. I do. I think they're okay with dating men, less than stellar men. You got a mental problem, as my mom used to say. You got a mental problem if you're doing that for free. The Bible says you're better to be paid than just running around dipping and diving and everything. I agree with you. I think it's abominable. I think we should have stopped doing that a long time ago. And I can also say at the same time that everybody in this community needs to ask themselves, what can we do to be better? Let's not look at white people. Let's not look at the women. Men, what can you do to be better? Women, what can you do to be better? Instead of throwing daggers at everybody and trying to find out who's right and who's wrong. Because men have done a whole lot of wrong to women. And women have done a whole lot of wrong by accepting and perpetuating certain behaviors in the community. I would never, ever give the man the privilege of producing reproducing himself without the benefit of marriage? Absolutely not. But we do that. We do it. That's not a dig or a shame on anybody. That's just the truth. So if we perpetuate that, we can't then be mad that that's what's expected of us. No. Have high expectations for yourself, including with your health, because this is a health and fitness channel and I haven't talked about health today, and I said that I would. So I was on the phone with one of my clients about 5 weeks ago, and she moved to a city where, I hate to say it, it's predominantly Black and people are a little larger there. And she said, Coach, because one of the things I do is I coach women in health and fitness, and she goes, I've become comfortable because when I was living in Austin, when I was living in the Pacific Northwest, this wouldn't be acceptable because everybody out here walks and hikes and eats green smoothies and spinach and protein. But now that I'm not there and I'm in a predominantly Black community, my health and weight are not a problem. And I was like, okay, so let's get back on that Pacific Northwest granola diet, which is whole nutrient dense foods and going for your walks on the treadmill now, not in beautiful Oregon. And so, yeah, expect more for yourself, because if you are surrounded by people who don't expect, you will devolve. You will devolve instead of evolve. Okay. Okay, I'm about to say another thing. I'm about to tell you guys another story that I really gotta get off of here. I don't know why I'm hanging out with you guys so long. So I grew up in a poorer area. We were, of course, technically way below the poverty line because my parents had 8 children. Yes, in Austin, you're expecting to be outdoors. Yeah, you better be able to hike them hills. That I tell you, they don't have mountains because I'm in California, but yeah, you're expected to hike those hills and be, do the thing. So I grew up in a poorer neighborhood, and I was surrounded by a lot of ethnic people, a lot of Black people, a lot of Latino, and then a lot of Filipinos. And my parents moved me to a 2% white high school. Okay, I didn't speak to them for months. I was so mad at them. One of the reasons why they did that is because they were like, oh, there's like 20 AP classes here. You need to take some of them, right? One of the other reasons was they were like, these high schools are trash. Our house was also getting too small. And one of the things I noticed when I went to this high school is that the expectations in the classrooms were different. You're expected to do more. Now, thankfully, my parents were just straight up just taskmasters. So it didn't matter. My parents sent us to community college while we were in 8th grade to go learn. They were like, this is not hard enough for you. Go to community college so that you can go get your grades up. But I noticed that the expectations were higher. And there were less Black people there than there are now. And they just gave everybody the same expectations. They didn't care. I remember I got there the first day and the teacher was like, it was biology. And I was like, let me take it. I was taking biology last week. And she's like, you want to take the test? She was shocked. But the things they were learning were a little different than what we were learning. Lower standards. Even what the kids were eating for lunch, was way different. Now, my mother became a health nut, which is great. So we were eating grapes and, almond crackers and things like that. At the other school, it was considered weird. But even the food was different. And I was like, okay, there are different standards and expectations here than other places. And we kind of like, water kind of levels out wherever water is instead of being like, let me go ahead and swell a little bit and be a little better. And I think we have to ask ourselves if we can be a little better. A matriarchal concern trolling. That's funny. Tim, I low-key agree with you. I do. I didn't like how Iyanla was like, that was the first place she went, was like a bus driver. I'm like, do you know how many Black engineers are in Silicon Valley? My brother's one of them. Like, I don't know. Maybe wherever she is, they're not like that. But I hear, listen. I agree with you. I think that was her thought. That's what she think about y'all. She was like, oh yeah, they bus drivers. That's what she thinks. Eboni could have a husband if she wanted one. She's just a ratchet hood chick. So I don't do name calling. Does Eboni operate in her masculine? 500%. Her energy was very interesting to me. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, ooh, a little sharp. But she wasn't, listen, you can be sharp and right. Okay. Just like you can be strong and wrong, you can be sharp and right. But yeah, she definitely she does operate a lot of it in her masculine for sure. Even the way she, like, just her whole like spirit is very masculine. But look, that she was on television. The other one thing I've realized is that women in different environments know how to turn. It's a dial, right? So you turn on and off your femininity. And I think she was in defense mode, which, listen, when men are following me around the street, I will absolutely, me and my dog will absolutely turn around and have to, I got to get in my energy because I'm about to fight you potentially, like my daddy taught me how. So yeah, I think she was in her defensive posture, which definitely brought out her peacocking, which is a masculine trait. So you're right about that. Anyway, you guys, this was a really long live. I hope you had some fun. I actually was supposed to do a lot of stuff that did not happen today because I was on here talking. I was like, this is going to be a short live, 30 minutes, blah, blah, blah. 57 minutes later, hey, have high expectations for yourself. Do not expect mediocrity from you. And here's the thing. The worst thing that can happen is that you're mediocre. But if you expect mediocrity from yourself, then you miss, then you're lower than mediocre. You're below average. Okay. The woman whose men stand in front of Home Depot would not have asked that. Black men are not allowed to stand in front of Home Depot. So I don't know what that has nothing to do with me. They're not allowed to stand in front of home. Black men are not allowed to do that. So, they're required to have contracts. They're required to go to contractor school. They're required to they cannot do that. That's a Mexican thing, or I guess south of the border thing for California. No, we cannot do that. Black men cannot do that. So that's a silly comparison. They are not allowed to do that. Just like Black people cannot sit in a corner and sell fruit. Nope, they can't. So that's a silly comparison. Black men are required to get, they are not allowed to get, they have to go to school and make sure they're, getting contracted, because the United States will not allow that. Please, let's live in reality here. They imagine me selling the fruit on the corner. People would be like, there's this lady selling fruit on the corner. She looks suspicious. We ain't allowed to do that. Don't do that. All right, you guys, have a beautiful, wonderful day. Thank you, Tim, for commenting. I love a good banter. I appreciate you. I don't disagree with everything you're saying. And Kristen and Jamila, and I'll see you guys later.